diverse perspectives from around the globe. From breaking news headlines to fascinating features, discover the stories that shapes our society and the voices that demand to be heard. It's Newspaper Review on Aloore Radio.
A very beautiful morning to you, and thank you very much for always joining us on Aloore Radio. Welcome to another week, another new day filled with many great opportunities. And this morning, we are on to newspaper review. This is where we highlight some of the headlines from the Nigerian national dailies. My name is Taiwo Adekeshi.
My name is Tumishi Ajayi.
The station is Aloore Radio, and we are right at GSM Studio at the Ministry of Information and Orientation. So if you're listening live, you can also watch live on every of our social media platform. Join us on our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/Aloore Radio. And on this very section of newspaper review this morning, I have with me Nigerian Tribune newspaper.
And I have with me the Punch newspaper.
Okay, so maybe you should find a place to sit, relax with a cup of coffee or cup of tea, and let's enjoy the news stories from our Nigerian national dailies this morning. And from the very front page of Nigerian Tribune newspaper, there is a striking story on the presidential election that says, "Don't bend the law." Catholic bishops tell Supreme Court, and it has a rider, say politicians using palliative distribution to enrich themselves. The details of this news story is on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper.
And I have a story that says, and Tinubu's to decide 400 cases and sit-ins, with the rider that says 7 Delta rep ordered to no fate this week. Tribunal sack Kano NNPP lawmaker, Imo PDP rep. Plateau governor gets verdict today at tribunals, decide poll petition in more states. The story is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper.
Still on the front page of Nigerian Tribune newspaper, Ogun government and Daniel's firm trade words over destruction of 5-story building, and it has about 3 to 4 riders here that says it's an illegal structure, contravenes physical planning law, and notice served since May 2022, according to Ogun State government. It's executive recklessness. That Ken Plaza paid Ogun government 500,000 naira mandatory fee on August 2nd, according to Daniel's lawyers, and adds that Ogun government ignored court papers served it last week. The details of this news story on the destruction of 5-story building in Ogun State is on page 3 of Nigerian Tribune newspaper.
Ogun ex-governor Daniel's wife clash over plaza demolition. The story is on page 7 of the Punch newspaper.
Okay, 24 dead and many missing in Niger boat accident. Details of this news story is on page 27 of Nigerian Tribune newspaper.
Morocco earthquake victim rise to 2,122 children worst hit. The story is on page 8 of the Punch newspaper.
Okay, twin of that story is also here on page 25 of Nigerian Tribune newspaper. And here also 36 states gets 1.51 trillion naira FAAC allocation in 6 months, according to NATI's report. Details on page 18.
States get 1.51 trillion naira FAAC allocation in 6 months. The story is on page 19 of the Punch newspaper.
400,000 healthcare workforce not enough for Nigeria, according to PATE. The details of this news story is on page 4 of Nigerian Tribune newspaper.
FG foreign airlines meet at flight disruption worsen. The story is on page 29 of the Punch newspaper.
Northeast governors raise concern over influx of bandits. Warn traditional rulers against aiding abetting criminals. The details of this news story is on page 29 of Nigerian Tribune newspaper.
24 dead, 30 rescued in Niger boat accident. The story is on page 5 of the Punch newspaper.
Okay, also still on the front page of Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Agents kick as maritime police detain 1,800 containers at Lagos ports. There is a rider here that says detention threatening port operation. Find the details of this news story on page 28 of Nigerian Tribune newspaper.
Bank's bad loan eats 478 billion naira amid economic downturn. The story is on page 19 of the Punch newspaper.
Tinubu meets Biden at G20 summit, and it has a rider that says hold talk to Germany, South Korean and Indian leaders. Well, we'll go on a quick break now to return with the details of the news story. It is still the morning of highlighting some of the headlines from the Nigerian national dailies, and you are listening to Aloore Ereview. Please don't go away.
lóòótọ́ àlùkà wà ní ẹrù olódùmarè ni ló fi jẹ́ pé àlùkà wà ní téèyàn bá ṣe lórí òdodo olódùmarè tó lẹ́rù náà ní bá ní gbé àgbẹ́kẹ̀lé ìṣèjọba omi tuntun tí ń bẹ nípìnlẹ̀ ọ̀yọ́ èyí tí gómìnà ṣèyí mákindé ń darí nìyí ló fi jẹ́ ọgbà tí ìṣèjọba yìí ti gorí àlééfà ló ti gbé ìlànà ìṣèjọba olóko mẹ́rin kalẹ̀ ẹ̀kọ́ ọ̀fẹ́ ìwòsàn ọ̀fẹ́ ìgbélárugẹ ọrọ̀ ajé ohun ààbò tó gbópọn lára àṣeyọrí ìlànà yìí ní gbígba iléèwé gíga yunifásitì LAUTECH fúnpínlẹ̀ ọ̀yọ́ owó ìrànwọ́ fáwọn akẹ́kọ̀ọ́ mòfin àwọn akẹ́kọ̀ọ́ gbàwé ọ̀fẹ́ ó sì tún gbolùkọ́ síṣẹ́ ìwòsàn ọ̀fẹ́ ní tìbútòrò ìpínlẹ̀ ọ̀yọ́ nípa kíkọ́ ilé ìwòsàn alábọ́dé sí wọ́ọ̀dù tó dín ní 300 níye àtúnṣe àwọn ilé ìwòsàn tó ti wà tẹ́lẹ̀ òun ilé ìwòsàn alágbèéká kọ́rọ̀ ajé ìpínlẹ̀ wa lè rú gọ́gọ́ sí a ṣàtúnṣe àwọn ọ̀nà tó ti wà tẹ́lẹ̀ a sì tún la tuntun ìsẹ́yìn sọ́yọ́ ìsẹ́yìn sógbómọ̀ṣọ́ ìsẹ́yìn sókèèwò ṣakí sọ́gbọ̀rọ̀ àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ ìgbélárugẹ iṣẹ́ àgbẹ̀ òun ní ojú pópó tó mọ́lẹ̀ rókoṣo ẹ̀tọ́ àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ àtòṣìṣẹ́ fẹ̀yìntì ò sì tẹ̀tì ààbò sì dúró ore nípìnlẹ̀ ọ̀yọ́ báwọn ọdẹ onípàkúté ò tiẹ̀ sinmi pàkúté wọn ń dìdẹ olódùmarè tó lẹ́rù ń bá ìṣàkóso ìgbẹ́rù rẹ̀ gómìnà ṣèyí mákindé wá ń dúpẹ́ fún àtìlẹ́yìn gbogbo wa nípìnlẹ̀ ọ̀yọ́ lágbára olódùmarè ibi ire lòkè yìí ń gbé wá rè ibi ire.
iléeṣẹ́ ètò ìròyìn àṣà ohun ìrìn àjò afẹ́ tìpínlẹ̀ ọ̀yọ́ ló ń kéde.
building caved in. Our correspondent also learned that it took some time for neighbors to free the sisters who were hurt and trapped within the collapsed structure. For more details of the story, you can check page 5 of the newspaper.
The Independent Marketers Branch of the National Union of Petroleum Marketers and Natural Gas Workers (NUPEN) has appealed to President Bola Tinubu and the management of Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited to expedite action on the turnaround of the nation's refineries. The call, according to the marketers, is predicated on its belief that the functionality of the refineries hold potential in helping to reduce the hardship of the fuel subsidy removal being faced by the citizens. The independent marketers made the call through the chairman, Comrade Oluleye Olayemi, at the weekend, shortly after he was re-elected for a second term after emerging unopposed alongside other executive members during the 5th Quadrennial Branch Delegates Conference of the association held in Ibadan, saying assertion that refineries cannot work are piling. But then the independent marketers appealed to the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu NNPCL on turnaround of the refineries within the country. The stories on the business corner, page 7 of Nigerian Tribune newspaper.
The Ogun State government says it took proactive measures by partially building down that Ken Plaza, Ijebu-Ode, said to be owned by the wife of the state's former governor Otunba Gbenga Daniel. The government called the plaza an illegal structure without an approved plan and added that it contravened the state's physical planning laws. In a Sunday statement signed by the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development, Olayiwola Abiodun, the government said the structure violated the building codes of the state with numerous defeats. It said several efforts made by the state government to halt further development on sites were ignored by the developers. For more details of the story, you can check page 7 of the Punch newspaper.
Okay, this is a story that interests the students, especially on the graduates of University of Lagos. The University of Lagos, Unilag, said it would be difficult to revert to former rates charged by the institution, adding that the increase in obligatory fees is not meant to deprive indigent students of quality education. The Vice Chancellor of the institution, Professor Folashade Ogunshola, made this disclosure on a virtual news and conference on Saturday night in Lagos. Unilag, through a statement issued on August 21, announced an adjustment in the obligatory fees, saying that the adjustments would take effect from the first semester of 2023 and 2024 academic session and was on view of the prevailing economic realities and the need to meet its obligations to its students, staff, and municipal service providers, among others. The rest of the story on why return to state of school is difficult, according to the Vice Chancellor of the University of Lagos, Akoka, is on page 11 of Nigerian Tribune newspaper.
The death toll from a 6.8 magnitude earthquake that hit Morocco on Friday has risen above 2,000. This is as the African country races against time to save those trapped under the rubble. As response teams struggle to bring machinery to dig the rubble, villagers continue to dig by hand and shovel to find survivors, a report by BBC says. According to the report, Friday's earthquake is the country's deadliest in 60 years. If you are interested in that story, you can check page 8 of the Punch newspaper.
Well, a tune of that story is also on page 25 of Nigerian Tribune newspaper. And away from that story already, there are mixed feelings in the camps of some National Assembly and State Houses of Assembly members following the nullification of the elections of few of their colleagues by the various election petition tribunals across the country. Mostly affected by the nullification are lawmakers from Kano, Zamfara, Enugu, and Delta states, where some senators and House of Representatives had their election upturned by tribunals. In Kano and Zamfara, some federal and state lawmakers won at the tribunal to retain their seats, while in Jigawa, the tribunal sitting in the state ordered a rerun. The election petition tribunal in Kano nullified the election of Mukhtar Umar Yarima of the New Nigeria People's Party (NNPP), the lawmaker representing Tarauni Federal constituency in the House of Representatives, lost due to alleged forgery. Suspects as tribunal sacks federal state lawmakers in Enugu, Bayelsa, Benue, Kano, Zamfara, and others rerun in Jigawa State. If you're interested in this news story, you find the news story rightly seated on page 22 of Nigerian Tribune newspaper.
No fewer than 399 pieces of improvised explosive devices were recovered by operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency from one Asana Leke 39 along Mokwa Jeba Road on Thursday, September 7. The suspect, who said the explosives were handed to him at a park in Ibadan, Oyo State, to be delivered to someone in Kaduna, had since, alongside the exhibits, been transferred to the military authorities in Niger State. Apart from the various drug control efforts, the NDLEA State Command and other formations also continued the anti-narcotic agency war against law abuse advocacy campaign in schools, worship places, palaces, and local communities, among others. If you're interested in that story, check page 5 of the Punch newspaper.
Former Nigerian President Chief Olusegun Obasanjo has lauded Governor Ademola Adeleke for proving his critics wrong by being a dancing but hard-working governor in the governance of the state. During his address at Lagos State, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo cited the governor as an exemplary leader who is not ashamed to praise God despite occupying high office of state, positing that dancing and working for God and the people are things to be proud of. Mr. Governor, according to Olusegun Obasanjo, they call you a dancer. However, you are dancing to praise God. How hard you are working hard for your people. Chief Olusegun Obasanjo expressed this in Yoruba language, and others rally support for Oni and others for Osun State Governor. The details of this news story is on page 29 of Nigerian Tribune newspaper.
2 people died while one was injured in an accident involving a Mazda bus and a Mazda car at Ayedere along the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway. The spokesperson for the Ogun State Traffic Compliance and Enforcement Corps, Babatunde Akinbiyi, confirmed the incident to newsmen in Abeokuta. Akinbiyi stated that the accident occurred at 7:10 a.m. at Ayedere Village, Ewekoro local government area of the state. He noted that the accident was caused by the driver of the unregistered Mazda car, who drove against traffic and had a head-on collision with the Mazda bus marked by Shea 311SY. For more details of the story, you can check page 4 of the Punch newspaper.
Okay. While acknowledging the relative success recorded against insurgency in the Northeast sub-region, the Northeast Governors Forum has lamented that a new dimension of growing banditry has emerged to worsen the security situation in the sub-region. The Northeast Governors Forum observed that as a result of the concerted efforts of the military to flush bandits from the other parts of the country, the criminals are now moving towards the Northeast. The forum stressed that the case is becoming worse in Bauchi, Gombe, and Taraba State places, hitherto without banditry, as the forum called on the federal government to urgently intervene to address the issue. These were contained in a communique issued at the end of the Northeast Governors Forum 8's regular meeting held in Maiduguri, capital of Borno State, over the weekend and attended by the Vice President Kasim Shettima. They warned the traditional rulers against aiding, abetting criminals and criminalities and spoke out ardent insurgents from sub-region. Borno governor tells the military officials in the states. The rest of that news story is on page 29 of Nigerian Tribune newspaper.
The 36 states of the Federation received about 1.5 trillion naira or 34.5% of the total 4.337 trillion naira shared by the 3 tiers of the government between January and June 2023. The Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative said on Sunday. It disclosed this in its second quarter 2023 Federation Account Statutory revenue allocation report released in Abuja. The report showed that the state received about 817.79 billion naira from the 2.32 trillion naira totally distributable allocation in the first quarter and 688.2 billion naira of the 2.04 trillion naira allocation in the second quarter. If you are interested in that story, check page 19 of the Punch newspaper.
Social Economic Rights and Accountability Project (SERAP) has asked the 36 state governors in the country to disclose details on spending of the 2 billion naira palliative recently disbursed by each state by the federal government, including the names of the beneficiaries and details of the reliefs so far provided with the money within 7 days. According to reports, the federal government recently disbursed 2 billion naira out of the 5 billion palliative package for each state of the federation and the federal capital territory to address the impact of the removal of fuel subsidy. By Sarah. The rest of this news story is on page 28 of Nigerian Tribune newspaper.
Amidst the lingering travel crowds at the Muritala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, following the relocation of foreign airlines to the new international terminal, the federal government has invited foreign airlines to a meeting on Monday. As a result, the Ministerial Committee on Relocation, a panel set up by the Minister of Aviation, Festus Kayamo, to look into the travel crowds at the MMIA, will meet with stakeholders at the MMIA to find a lasting solution to the pandemonium. International passengers departing Nigeria were on Wednesday and Thursday stranded in Lagos, Cairo, Doha, London and other destinations after bagging belt failures as the new terminal of the Muritala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, forced airlines to delay and cancel flights. For more details of the story, you can check page 29 of the Punch newspaper.
Okay, just before we draw the curtain this morning, there is a new story from the sports corner on how Real Madrid wants Alvarez as Mbappe alternative and many other stories from the sports corner on the platform of Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. We hope to see you again tomorrow where you meet our colleagues for another freshly packaged edition of Latino Wearing from 9 a.m. and newspaper review from 9:30 a.m. on Aloore Radio at the Ministry of Information and Orientation, GSM Studio Secretariat, Agodi, Ibadan. My name is Taiwo Badikeshi. We'll see you again and have a pleasant day.
My name is Tumishi Ajayi.